Ladies and gentlemen, there are connections in life that refuse to fit neatly into the categories of right or wrong. They exist in the hidden corners of the human heart, where emotions become complicated and desire collides with reality. Sometimes, a person can love deeply, sincerely, and intensely, yet still find themselves trapped in circumstances that make that love impossible to express fully. What happens when a man loves you with every part of his soul, but another woman already occupies a place in his life? What happens when his heart is divided between what he feels and what he believes he must do? Most people assume that love should always lead to action, that genuine feelings automatically produce clear choices. But human nature is rarely that simple. Many people spend years carrying emotions they cannot explain. They smile while hiding regret. They remain silent while their hearts scream for expression. They convince themselves they have moved on, only to discover that certain thoughts, certain memories, and certain people continue to live within them. The deeper the feeling, the harder it becomes to ignore. Tonight, we explore a truth that few are willing to confront. We will look beneath appearances and examine the hidden conflict that occurs when love, responsibility, fear, loyalty, and desire all compete for control of the same heart. You may discover that what seems like distance is not always indifference. What appears to be rejection is not always a lack of love, and what looks like certainty on the surface may conceal an emotional battle that has been raging for years. This is a journey into the unconscious motives, silent struggles, and emotional contradictions that shape human relationships. Because sometimes the person who loves you the most is also the person fighting the hardest battle within themselves. And when that battle reaches its breaking point, everything can change. There is a common belief that when a man truly loves someone, his actions will immediately reflect his feelings. People assume that love naturally creates clarity, courage, and decisive movement. Yet reality often reveals something entirely different. Some of the deepest feelings a person can experience remain hidden beneath layers of fear, obligation, uncertainty, and emotional conflict. The intensity of love does not always determine the visibility of love. In fact, sometimes the strongest emotions are the ones most carefully concealed. A man who loves deeply may not know how to express what is happening within him. He may find himself caught between what his heart desires and what his life circumstances allow. The stronger the feeling becomes, the more complicated the situation may appear in his mind. Rather than bringing certainty, powerful emotions can create confusion. They force him to question everything he thought he understood about himself, his relationships, and his future. Many people underestimate how much fear influences human behavior. Fear is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it appears as hesitation. Sometimes it disguises itself as logic. Sometimes it convinces a person that remaining silent is the safest option. A man may fear hurting someone. He may fear judgment from others. He may fear making a choice that changes the course of multiple lives. Most importantly, he may fear discovering that the feelings he has kept hidden are stronger than he can control. The human mind often attempts to protect itself from emotional risk. When a connection feels significant, the possibility of loss becomes more threatening. A casual attraction is easy to express because little is at stake. But when someone touches the deepest parts of a person's heart, vulnerability becomes unavoidable. Suddenly every decision feels heavier. Every action seems to carry consequences. Every step forward feels like standing at the edge of an unknown future. There are moments when a man may appear distant, even while thinking about someone constantly. He may act normal on the surface, while experiencing emotional storms internally. His silence can be mistaken for indifference. His caution can be interpreted as a lack of feeling, yet beneath that calm exterior, an intense psychological struggle may be taking place. The conflict between desire and responsibility often remains invisible to everyone except the person experiencing it. Another reason love remains hidden is because people are not always prepared for the truths they discover within themselves. Sometimes a connection awakens emotions that have been dormant for years. It challenges long-held beliefs and forces a person to confront unmet needs, forgotten dreams, and unresolved emotional wounds. Such experiences can feel overwhelming. Rather than embracing these revelations immediately, many individuals retreat inward to make sense of what they are feeling. Love also has a way of exposing vulnerability. To admit deep feelings is to acknowledge the possibility of rejection, disappointment, or heartbreak. For some people, maintaining emotional control feels safer than revealing the depth of their attachment. They convince themselves that silence offers protection. Yet the emotions continue to grow beneath the surface, influencing thoughts, decisions, and behaviors in subtle ways. What makes hidden love especially powerful is that it rarely disappears simply because it is ignored. Feelings that are pushed into the shadows often find other ways to express themselves. They appear in lingering thoughts, unexplained emotions, recurring memories, and moments of reflection that arrive unexpectedly. A man may try to focus on other aspects of his life, but certain connections continue to occupy space within his mind. The heart has a remarkable ability to remember what the mind attempts to dismiss. The deeper the emotional connection, the harder it becomes to silence its presence, even when words remain unspoken and actions remain restrained. The emotional reality continues to exist beneath the surface, shaping perspectives, influencing choices, and quietly demanding recognition. One of the most painful experiences a person can endure is finding themselves divided between two powerful forces within their life. On one side stands genuine emotion, the undeniable pull of the heart towards someone who awakens something profound within them. On the other side stands commitment, responsibility, and the reality of choices that have already been made. When these forces collide, the result is often an emotional conflict that few people can fully understand from the outside. A man may never have expected such a situation to arise. Life often unfolds according to plans, routines, and familiar expectations. Relationships are formed, responsibilities are accepted, and a sense of stability develops over time. Then, unexpectedly, a connection appears that challenges everything. It is not necessarily sought after or invited. Sometimes it emerges naturally through conversation, shared experiences, or an unexplainable sense of understanding between two people. What begins as a simple interaction gradually becomes something impossible to ignore. The difficulty lies in the fact that emotions do not always respect timing. The heart does not consult circumstances before forming attachments. It does not ask whether the situation is convenient or appropriate. Feelings arise according to their own mysterious logic, often appearing when a person believes their life is already settled. This creates a conflict between what is felt internally and what exists externally. Many people assume that choosing between emotions and commitments should be straightforward. However, human psychology is rarely that simple. A man may genuinely care for the woman already present in his life. Shared memories, loyalty, obligations, and years of emotional investment carry significant weight. These experiences become woven into his identity. Walking away from them is not merely a practical decision. It often feels like dismantling a part of himself. At the same time, the connection he feels with someone else may awaken emotions that are equally real. He may discover levels of understanding, excitement, comfort, or emotional depth that surprise him. These feelings can create intense inner turmoil because they challenge his previous understanding of what love means. Suddenly, he is faced with two competing truths. One truth reflects the life he has built. The other reflects the emotions he cannot easily dismiss. This internal battle often creates guilt. Guilt emerges because he recognizes that his feelings affect more than just himself. Every choice has consequences. Every possibility carries the potential to hurt someone. He may feel responsible for protecting the emotional well-being of those involved, even as he struggles to understand his own emotions. The weight of that responsibility can become overwhelming. Fear frequently accompanies guilt. fear of making the wrong decision, fear of regret, fear of destroying something valuable while pursuing something uncertain. Human beings naturally seek security, and major emotional decisions threaten that sense of stability. The future becomes unpredictable, outcomes become impossible to guarantee. Faced with uncertainty, many people delay action, hoping clarity will eventually emerge on its own. The conflict also creates exhaustion. Constantly balancing competing emotions requires tremendous psychological energy. A man may spend countless hours analyzing situations, replaying conversations, imagining different futures, and questioning his own motives. He may appear distracted or withdrawn because so much of his mental energy is devoted to managing this internal struggle. What makes this situation particularly difficult is that there may be no perfect solution. Every available path involves sacrifice. Remaining where he is may require suppressing powerful emotions. Pursuing what his heart desires may require letting go of something significant. Neither choice offers complete relief from pain. This realization often intensifies the emotional conflict, making it even harder to reach a decision. As time passes, the tension between love and commitment continues to grow. Emotions that remain unresolved rarely stay dormant. They demand attention, reflection, and eventually some form of acknowledgement. The longer the conflict exists, the more impossible it becomes to pretend that nothing has changed. Within the landscape of the heart, human beings often reveal far more through their behavior than through their words. When emotions become difficult to express openly, they rarely disappear. Instead, they emerge in subtle actions, unconscious habits, and moments that seem insignificant to casual observers. A man who carries deep feelings for someone may never directly confess what is happening inside his heart. Yet traces of those emotions often become visible in ways he does not fully realize. One of the most powerful signs appears in the quality of his attention. In a world filled with distractions, attention is one of the most valuable gifts a person can offer. When someone consistently notices details about another person, remembers small conversations, or recalls moments that others would easily forget, it often reflects a deeper emotional investment. These details remain in his memory because they matter to him on a level that extends beyond ordinary interest. Another sign can be found in his emotional reactions. People tend to respond differently when someone holds a special place in their heart. A simple message may brighten his mood. A brief interaction may stay on his mind for hours. Likewise, moments of distance or misunderstanding may affect him more deeply than he is willing to admit. Even if he maintains composure externally, his emotional responses often reveal the significance of the connection. There is also the tendency to seek proximity whenever possible. This does not always mean physical closeness. Sometimes it appears as finding reasons to communicate, creating opportunities for interaction, or showing curiosity about another person's life. Even when circumstances prevent direct expression, the desire to remain connected often finds subtle ways to manifest itself. The heart naturally moves toward what it values. A man with hidden feelings may also display a unique level of protectiveness. This does not necessarily involve dramatic gestures. Often it emerges through genuine concern for another person's well-being, happiness, and emotional state. He may pay attention to struggles that others overlook. He may become sensitive to signs of distress. His concern extends beyond casual kindness because it is influenced by a deeper emotional attachment. Another revealing sign is inconsistency. While inconsistency is often misunderstood, it can sometimes reflect internal conflict rather than a lack of interest. A man who feels deeply but struggles with his circumstances may alternate between closeness and distance. One moment he seems fully present and emotionally engaged. The next moment he withdraws unexpectedly. This pattern often reflects an ongoing battle between what he feels and what he believes he should do. Eye contact can also communicate emotions that words fail to express. The eyes often reveal sincerity, affection, and longing before the conscious mind has time to intervene. a lingering glance, a look filled with curiosity, or moments when he appears unable to hide his admiration can speak volumes. Such moments are rarely planned. They emerge naturally from genuine emotional connection. The way he speaks about the future can provide additional clues. Even if he never directly discusses romantic feelings, he may unconsciously include another person in future possibilities, ideas, or conversations. This subtle integration often reflects the role they occupy within his inner world. When someone consistently appears in his thoughts about tomorrow, it suggests a connection that extends beyond the present moment. There may also be moments when jealousy surfaces unexpectedly. Even individuals who attempt to suppress their emotions can struggle when faced with the possibility of losing someone important. Jealousy does not always appear as possessiveness. Sometimes it manifests as discomfort, sadness, silence, or an unusual emotional reaction when attention shifts elsewhere. Such responses often reveal attachments that have not been openly acknowledged. Perhaps the most telling sign is persistence. Many attractions fade with time, distance, or changing circumstances. Genuine emotional connections often behave differently. They continue to influence thoughts, emotions, and behavior long after logic suggests they should disappear. A man may try to focus elsewhere, convince himself to move on, or ignore what he feels. Yet the connection remains present. It continues to shape his perspective and draw his attention in ways that are difficult to explain. When feelings are sincere, they often leave a trail of small but meaningful signs. Individually, these moments may seem insignificant. Together, they form a pattern that reveals the emotional reality hidden beneath the surface of silence. There are moments in life when a person knows exactly what they feel, yet still finds themselves unable to act upon those feelings. From the outside, this hesitation can appear confusing, frustrating, or even contradictory. People often assume that if emotions are strong enough, action will naturally follow. But human behavior is shaped by far more than emotion alone. Fear, guilt, and responsibility possess a powerful influence over decision-making, often creating invisible barriers that keep a person trapped between desire and action. Fear is one of the strongest psychological forces within the human mind. It exists not only to protect us from physical danger, but also from emotional pain. When a man develops deep feelings for someone while already facing complicated circumstances, fear begins to emerge in many forms. He may fear hurting people he cares about. He may fear disrupting lives that have become intertwined with his own. He may fear the judgment of family, friends, or society. Most importantly, he may fear making a decision that cannot be undone. The future often appears uncertain. When emotions become involved, every possible path carries risks. If he follows his heart, he risks creating pain and instability. If he ignores his feelings, he risks living with regret and unanswered questions. Faced with two difficult possibilities, many people choose neither. They remain in place, hoping circumstances will somehow resolve themselves. Yet this state of inaction often becomes its own source of suffering. Guilt frequently develops alongside fear. Unlike fear, which focuses on future consequences, guilt is connected to personal values and moral responsibility. A man may genuinely believe that acting on his feelings would betray commitments he has already made. Even if his emotions are sincere, he may struggle with the idea that pursuing them could cause pain for others. This creates a conflict between what his heart wants and what his conscience believes is right. The burden of guilt can become overwhelming because it affects how a person sees themselves. Most individuals want to view themselves as loyal, trustworthy, and honorable. When emotions challenge these qualities, intense internal tension develops. He may begin questioning his character, his intentions, and his worth. Instead of focusing solely on what he feels, he becomes consumed by concerns about the impact his choices might have on everyone involved. Responsibility adds another layer to this emotional struggle. As people move through life, they accumulate obligations. These obligations may involve relationships, families, financial commitments, shared histories, and promises made over time. Responsibility creates stability, but it can also create pressure. A man may feel responsible for maintaining harmony, even when his own emotional needs remain unmet. He may believe that fulfilling his obligations requires sacrificing personal desires. Many individuals carry a deep sense of duty that extends beyond themselves. They measure decisions not only by personal happiness but also by how those decisions affect others. This mindset can make major emotional choices incredibly difficult. Even when his heart pulls him in one direction, his sense of responsibility may pull him in another. The result is a constant internal struggle where every option feels incomplete. Another reason people become stuck is because fear, guilt, and responsibility often reinforce one another. Fear increases guilt by highlighting potential consequences. Guilt strengthens responsibility by emphasizing obligations. Responsibility amplifies fear by making possible losses appear even greater. Together, these forces create a psychological cycle that becomes difficult to escape. Over time, this emotional tension can affect nearly every aspect of a person's life. He may appear distracted, withdrawn, or uncertain. Decisions that once seemed simple become complicated. Moments of happiness become mixed with anxiety. Even ordinary interactions can trigger deep reflection because the unresolved conflict remains present beneath the surface. Despite these challenges, the heart rarely stops communicating its truth. Emotions continue to exist, regardless of how carefully they are managed. Fear may delay action. Guilt may encourage restraint. Responsibility may demand caution. Yet none of these forces completely erase genuine feelings. Instead, they create a situation where love, obligation, and uncertainty coexist within the same emotional space, leaving a person caught between what they feel and what they believe they must do. There comes a point in every profound emotional journey when a person can no longer remain the same. Certain experiences possess the power to challenge old beliefs, expose hidden truths, and force a deeper understanding of the self. When a man finds himself caught between powerful emotions and complicated circumstances, the struggle does more than create confusion. It initiates an inner transformation that gradually changes the way he understands love, relationships, and his own identity. Transformation rarely happens all at once. It often begins with discomfort. At first, he may attempt to ignore what he feels. He may convince himself that the emotions are temporary, irrational, or insignificant. Like many people, he may rely on logic to maintain control. He tells himself that practical considerations should outweigh emotional impulses. He focuses on routines, responsibilities, and familiar patterns, hoping that time will weaken the connection that continues to occupy his thoughts. Yet, genuine emotions have a way of demanding attention. The more he tries to suppress them, the more they reveal themselves through reflection, longing, and moments of unexpected clarity. Gradually, he begins to realize that the feelings are not disappearing. Instead, they are teaching him something important about himself. What once seemed like an inconvenience now becomes a mirror reflecting unmet emotional needs, hidden desires, and unexplored parts of his personality. One of the first changes that occurs during this transformation is increased self-awareness. Many people move through life following habits and expectations without deeply examining their inner world. Strong emotional experiences interrupt this pattern. They force a person to ask difficult questions. What do I truly value? What makes me feel alive? What kind of connection am I searching for? These questions often lead to discoveries that extend far beyond a single relationship. As self-awareness grows, old assumptions begin to dissolve. He may realize that some of the beliefs guiding his decisions were inherited from others rather than chosen consciously. He may recognize that fear has influenced choices more than he previously admitted. he may discover that much of his life has been organized around avoiding discomfort instead of pursuing authenticity. Such realizations can be both liberating and unsettling because they challenge familiar ways of thinking. Another important aspect of transformation involves confronting vulnerability. Many people spend years protecting themselves from emotional exposure. They build defenses designed to prevent disappointment, rejection, or pain. However, deep emotional connections often bypass these defenses. They reveal how much a person truly cares and how much they stand to lose. Through this process, he begins to understand that vulnerability is not weakness. It is evidence of genuine emotional engagement. The transformation also changes his understanding of love itself. Earlier in life, he may have viewed love primarily through practical terms or external expectations. Over time, he starts recognizing that love is not merely about comfort, convenience, or stability. It is also about growth, emotional truth, and personal evolution. He learns that meaningful connections often challenge people to become more honest versions of themselves. During this stage, introspection becomes increasingly important. Moments of solitude are no longer empty spaces to be avoided. Instead, they become opportunities for reflection. He begins examining past decisions, unresolved regrets, and recurring patterns within his relationships. Through this process, he gains a deeper understanding of how his fears, hopes, and experiences have shaped his emotional life. The transformation may also create a shift in priorities. Things that once seemed essential can lose their significance. External validation, social expectations, and the desire to maintain appearances often become less important than emotional authenticity. He begins to recognize that lasting fulfillment cannot be achieved by ignoring fundamental truths about himself. As this inner transformation continues, his perspective on the future changes as well. Instead of focusing solely on what feels safe or predictable, he becomes more aware of what feels meaningful. He starts understanding that a life built entirely around obligation may provide stability, but not necessarily emotional satisfaction. This realization does not immediately solve his struggles, but it changes the questions he asks and the choices he considers. What began as emotional conflict gradually becomes a journey of self-discovery, revealing truths that reshape his understanding of love, purpose, and the kind of life he ultimately wishes to create no matter how long a person tries to suppress their emotions. There eventually comes a moment when the heart demands honesty. Human beings possess an extraordinary ability to ignore, rationalize, and postpone difficult truths, but only for a limited time. Deep feelings have a way of growing beneath the surface, quietly influencing thoughts, decisions, and perceptions until they can no longer be contained. When a heart reaches the point where it can no longer ignore its deepest truth, a powerful shift begins to take place. At first, this realization often arrives gradually rather than suddenly. A man may experience small moments of clarity that interrupt his normal routine. These moments can emerge during quiet reflection, unexpected memories, or ordinary situations that suddenly carry emotional significance. What he once dismissed as temporary feelings begins to reveal itself as something much deeper. The connection he tried to minimize refuses to disappear. Instead, it remains present, persistent, and increasingly impossible to deny. As this awareness grows, the distance